Well, hello, and no, that's stupid. Hate that.
Well, hello.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast. I assume you know this is a podcast because you probably got it wherever you got your podcast. Anywho, we're here with Hunter. Hey, Hunter.
How are you?
I don't know anymore. And we're here with Bpoe. What's up, Bpoe?
Just recording a podcast. Chris, how about you?
Good times.
Didn't you hear him? He said he didn't know anymore. Come on.
I think I'm just recording a podcast. Chris, how about you?
I think you are as well. It's kind of foggy out today. Is it foggy out for you guys?
No, it's boiling hot here.
Yeah, it doesn't look too hot for me, or too foggy for me. I could always ask Google what my how hot it is outside, but it doesn't look foggy.
Those are two very different things, hot and foggy. I think it can be hot and foggy.
Look, I woke up for good about 20 minutes ago. Give me a break.
Rise and shine on the Jersey Nerds podcast. Get your morning fix starting Fridays at 5 or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad this isn't an early morning radio show. That would be difficult to get up at that time.
I don't have the ability to do an early morning radio show.
I doubt any of us have the ability to do an actual radio show, honestly. Probably takes many years of practice.
Can you imagine having to wake up at like 2 a.m. to get to work for like the earlier shows?
Let's not underestimate ourselves. We can do a mediocre radio show for sure.
We'll have to record. We'll do the morning episode where it's just like the three of us will wake up as early as possible.
I mean, no one will be listening anyway, so
yeah.
Just like no one's listening right now.
Ouch! We have fans. My mom listens to every episode. Honestly.
Well, hello, your mom. Anywho, I say anywho a lot. I don't know why. It doesn't even mean anything. Gosh. I need a new catchphrase.
Hey, anywho, you guys see a LA Rams concept online?
I was just going to say.
No. No, we did not.
It's funny because I listened to the last episode before, like this morning when I got up. And I'm so happy that we've continued the tradition of bringing up the concept before the episode ends.
Did you need a refresher of what the podcast sounded like before you came on again, or what?
No, I just wanted to hear the wealth of information that Brooks brought to the podcast, and I was disappointed that I missed it. But prior obligations.
I swear we brought that concept up once, and it somehow just became a running joke throughout the rest of the podcast. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah,
but I'm not upset.
It's not even that good. It's honestly not.
Not to you.
Well, no.
But you know what's really good? The concept for the LA Rams by Chris Ramirez.
Just wait until you see the logo concept. Coming out soon.
Oh, what a teaser.
Uh-huh. Coming out on a major media outlet. But we'll see what happens there. Who knows? Anywho, we do have things to talk about today, despite what you may think based on our conversations here. We are going to be continuing the NHL Team Rundowns, going through the best and worst uniforms of basically every NHL team. We're going through everyone that's significant. Today we're doing two more teams that came from the WHA. It's the Hartford Whalers, and it's the Edmonton Oilers. The Whalers, of course, ended existence in 1997, and the Oilers are still going. So good histories to talk about there. But first, we got a little, can I call it Jersey news? That almost sounds like Jersey Nerds. I don't know. I guess it's Jersey Nerds news, we call it. Anywho, gosh dang it, I did it again. I need to stop that. I really do need to stop that.
Anywho.
The news we are discussing today is that of the ECHL's Kansas City Mavericks, who have unveiled a couple tweaked logos, as well as some jerseys to accompany. We don't have full uniforms, but we've got some jersey mock-ups to look at. as well as the adjusted logos for them. Um, so the Kansas City Mavericks, they started as the Missouri Mavericks in 2009 and were so until 2016. And now they're the Kansas City Mavericks. I'm assuming they didn't move. I'm assuming they just went with the city name instead of the state name. They've been the Kansas City Mavericks since 2017. They've had a pretty similar logo from Missouri, similar set of logos from Missouri to Kansas City. If that makes any sense. But now they've got some new logos, some adjusted colors, and we'll go in discussing what we think. First off, say what we think initially of these new logos. We've got one. What they had before was kind of a roundel logo. It said Kansas City Mavericks. Had some horseshoes in the side. Had this horse head in the middle. The secondary logo was just the horse head, and now we have as the three logos they've unveiled, still the horse head. We have the horse head in a roundel, the words Kansas City, and then you had Mavericks in new type underneath, and then you have another logo that just says KC. And so, what do we think of these?
I'm not a fan. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, moving on then, Bpoe.
No,
I mean,
really, looking at them, they didn't change a ton. The logo's essentially the same, but I don't think that the changes that they made were drastic enough for me to really like them any better than I didn't like the other logos. And B, I don't know why. I like the roundel logo they had before because the whole thing fit. Now they just put Mavericks across the bottom and it just looks weird. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't like the way that well, I mean, we don't even know which one's the primary, so I don't like the way that new roundel logo looks.
Yeah, another comment is that their color scheme before was a mix of black, orange, some gray, white, and like a sky blue, powder blue. And they've completely removed the blue from the color scheme, so these logos are just the black, gray. It's two shades of gray in the logos. Really, there's a dark gray and there's a lighter gray, and there's orange and white, and so they got rid of a color. So good for them, kind of consolidating things. But yeah, Bpoe, thoughts on these?
I mean, again, the logos aren't that different, and I don't think the previous set was that bad. The horse head's a little bit odd, but whatever. It's not awful. But I do agree that the changes they made mostly were, downgrades, like the primary and the not the primary, the biggest roundel on the image that we are that I'm looking at. um, the one with the Mavericks text at the bottom. I'd prefer the other roundel. I think my favorite is just the horse head on its own, and that additional KC would be fine as a shoulder patch, I think, but we'll get to that. Um, I think that, with how many colors they had before, it was a good move to get rid of one of them. I'm not sure blue is the one that I would have chosen, though. And also, just to read a choice insert from Justin's article that I think is pretty funny. He said, as of the writing of the story, the Mavericks have yet to define a primary logo among these three, so we will have to wait for the jersey unveiling to establish the proper hierarchy.
And the funny thing is, based off of that writing from Jersey News writer and occasional podcast contributor Justin, we have seen somewhat of a jersey unveiling, and they put out three um, templated mock-ups of what their jerseys will be. There's a different logo on every jersey. They unveiled three logos, and each of those logos appears on their jerseys. Looking at what Kansas City has worn in the past, before they had a white jersey, they had a black jersey, and it looks like their alternates varied between a gray jersey and an orange jersey. The last season, it looks like they had the orange. Their jerseys were defined by a lot of piping, some underarm striping instead of having the stripe extend all the way down the sleeve, and yeah, really defined by the piping they had. I'd say that's probably the most um, obscenely identifiable element they had. And so the jerseys we have now, there is a medium to there's a dark gray jersey with the KC logo on the front that just says KC. There's a black jersey that has what we assume is the primary logo that has the roundel that says Kansas City Mavericks on it. And there is a medium to light gray jersey that has the horsehead logo on it. So a black jersey, a gray jersey, and a darker gray jersey. What do we think of these?
Should we just assume that that Roundel logo is their primary because it's their Twitter profile picture right now?
I'd assume it's the primary just because it says Kansas City Mavericks on it and none of the other ones do.
True.
Fair.
I feel like
think-
in the ECHL that's kind of what happens.
I think if you were gonna look at all three of them, then yeah, like the Roundel's probably the most obvious primary, and then the KC is definitely just an alternate / shoulder patch. But yeah, how excited are we about team bringing back that underarm striping?
Not even bringing back. It's the
Well,
same.
they've had it the whole time, yeah.
Basically, yeah. They didn't even change that much.
Somebody's got to keep it alive because we know the Oilers aren't bringing it back.
We'll get to the Oilers later. God. But yeah, it just amazes me. I mean, first off, the piping that they use, both on the front of the jersey and down the sleeves, it just feels so outdated. Like I'm pretty sure this is just like a default template on the NHL 13 create a team. As far as the construction of the jersey itself. And so basically what they've established is that their colors are black, dark gray, light gray, white, and orange. And yet orange is definitely the least, aside from white, orange is like the least used color on all of these.
Yeah, they've strictly relegated orange to an accent color, making for a pretty boring color palette.
I wonder how long they've been wearing this jersey template.
I don't want to know.
I looked up Missouri Mavericks 2009. It looks like they wore the same template, but they at least had like shoulder like Florida style from before their rebrand, where they had the whole shoulders colored.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting to note that their the shoulder patch that they had previously, it's basically similar to it's basically the primary logo that the Missouri Mavericks had from their inception, and what they've done now with their shoulder patches is two of the jerseys, the black and the light gray, have the KC as a shoulder patch, which I think works really well as a shoulder patch. But on the dark gray jersey, that KC becomes the front crest as the horse head is relegated to a shoulder patch logo. Personally, I don't know how you can put something that says literally just KC on the front of a jersey. Like, I don't know why you would do that. Personally,
I'm just not a big fan of how they did use the black on that jersey either. Because, like they have it running up the sides and into the armpits, and then they have it on the stripes, but then it extends. And I don't know, it just looks kind of weird.
It's like Vegas style, except terrible. While they have gray and black.
Yeah. And the light gray.
Maybe what they're doing is marketing to everybody named Casey, so that way they can buy these jerseys and just proudly display it.
That's it. We've cracked the code. We figured out their marketing plan.
yeah, I mean, just change your name to the KC Mavericks. You could be like the old MLS KC Wiz.
There's one kid out there named Casey Maverick, and they're like, he's gonna buy all of our stuff.
For a second, I was like, "Isn't that the Penguin from Surf's Up?" But no,
Ooh.
that's Cody Maverick.
Oh Jesus!
Very close. Maybe his middle name starts with C.
But then your initials would just be CC Maverick, which is like close to KC Maverick.
It's pretty close.
Anywho, yeah, it's gosh dang it. Look, what amazes me, it's funny because their logos have been like a horse head, they've been the Mavericks. Their name and number font, we don't know what name and number font they're gonna be using, in their current set. Um, but what they've worn in years past, and the images we're seeing are from last season, their name and number font is lifted directly from that of the NFL's Denver Broncos.
Really? My
One
God.
100%.
I actually never realized that. I was looking at it now, and it reminds me of the
That's
Cincinnati Cyclones font a little bit.
No,
that's
I mean, I
wild.
I I wasn't entirely sure until I saw the nameplate fonts on the back, because that's the only font I've seen in professional sports where like, the middle lines of like, the B and the E, like, extend, past the left side of the letter form, and so, really interesting. Plus I'm seeing a picture of a guy wearing 15, you're like, "Tim Tebow!" So,
Pretty much.
it fits their brand, but it's just like, it'll be interesting to see if they keep it. I mean, based on how much else they've kept, and because it's funny because the Mavericks, they made it sound like, oh, we have a whole new look. This is going to be a big thing, and they just made a few tweaks here and there, and not necessarily the best ones. There's some very interesting decisions, I'll say.
They also made some interesting decisions on making these templates to release the jerseys.
When there's a pandemic, you work with what you have, I say.
Yeah, like in a certain sense, I gotta give them a little bit of leeway because for one, it's a pandemic. For two, they're an ECHL team. I don't know how many or how much resources they really have. But at the same time, it's a little bit rough. Even what they did was just this template because, like, we were talking about it before on the black jersey, you can see like the collar laces are from like a 2D template. They're not even the ones that are built into the template. On the cuffs, you can see like there's some stuff like the striping is kind of like off. I don't know how to explain it. You can see on some of them like little patches of blue from the template showing through. So it's not the best execution for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I appreciate, at least I believe this to be the case with ECHL teams, is that at least they have like a different identity from their parent clubs. Because the Mavericks are the ECHL affiliate of the Calgary Flames, and the Flames AHL affiliate, the Stockton Heat, they're just a carbon copy of the Flames. So at least Kansas City's doing something different, something unique. But I think we're all questioning why they chose to go a more grayscale route. And I'm realizing there's a good chance that dark gray jersey was orange, and then they just accidentally like turned down the saturation. Then like, hey, let's keep that and add a tiny bit of orange in.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Just accidentally like click the black and white button. You know what? I kind of like that though.
Throw some logos on it. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, so out of the three jerseys, trying to think of which one's my personal favorite. For me, I think I'd have to go with the light gray jersey, just because that horse head logo is definitely the best looking one on the front of a crest. And I feel like that jersey, does a decent job of incorporating the orange as well, and balancing the orange and black as accent colors with the gray jersey. The other two, the color balance feels kind of off, and that horse head logo is definitely the best thing they have as far as the crest.
I'm kind of in between the black and that light gray one because the black one, despite being black, still has the most color on it, has the most orange out of all three of them. But the gray one, it's closest to like a clean white look, and it still has a fair bit of orange, and that logo, is the strongest of the three, I think, especially as like a front jersey crest. So yeah, I think I'll ultimately agree with you, Chris, that light gray is the best of the three. But yeah, I don't think any of them are the strongest.
Yeah. I'd have to go with the light gray as well. One, because it's the only one that they seem to have used before, because Justin's got a picture of it in this article here. And like seeing it in person, it looks a lot better than it does in the template, obviously. But I would have liked to see more orange use, like that black jersey. But what can you do?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they end up using these on the ice because, like, the black and the dark gray, they're clearly like, dark. Um, no, clearly those are clearly dark jerseys and would be worn against a white jersey. But then you have the gray jersey, which I think of the LA Kings, who have worn a gray jersey at home against white. So like, is this gonna be their version of a white jersey, or team's gonna go color or black against those gray jerseys, or are they just gonna make every team wear white?
See, I was just thinking that, and if they're using that gray as their version of a white jersey, that's one move that I'm actually pretty okay with. I don't think every team should do it, but I don't mind a team, here and there stepping out and doing like a cream white jersey or a gray white jersey, you know. And I say like a white jersey because I don't know in the ECHL which one's the home and the away, or do they switch halfway through the year? I'm not really sure.
I have not been to an ECHL game, so I cannot tell you. We lose Hunter.
No, I'm here. I just have no idea, so I was just gonna be quiet.
When in doubt, shut up.
Like the closest ECHL team to me is the Brampton Beast, and yeah, I'm not driving 5 hours to go watch a game. So
I'm not even entirely sure where the closest ECHL team to me is.
I
I have no
think mine
idea.
is Wheeling.
oh, the
I think.
Nailers.
I think it's somewhere between. It's probably them. I think. I believe Reading is in PA, isn't it?
It
Maybe.
look,
Yeah, it is. I don't know where that is. And there's the Reading Royals. They're in the ECHL, right? Not the A. I think they moved around at some point, but I don't remember where or like where they moved around to and from.
so it's Reading Royals.
Well, didn't Reading and Ontario switch? So Ontario used to be an ECHL team, and Reading used to be LA's AHL team, and then they flipped.
I think you might be right, but yeah, they're in the ECHL.
Yeah.
So if it's not Wheeling, then it's Reading. I'm not sure which one is closest to me, but either way. Okay, yeah, no, it's definitely Wheeling because Reading is closer to Philly. So yeah, Wheeling is the closest ECHL team to me. I'm pretty sure.
I'm thinking of that. There was a joke in The Simpsons where somebody said like, "Gone with the Wind," and they're like, "It's wind," and I'm like, I've only seen that word written. That's how I'm feeling with Reading right now because I've only seen it written, and so I just I'm flipping through NHL and be like, "Oh, the Reading Royals."
The Reading Royals.
It's in a book, The Reading Royals.
Reading Rainbow, yeah.
I mean, I honestly very well might be saying it is Reading as well if I hadn't heard somebody else say it. So the English language is a weird one, man, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah. And it appears that the closest ECHL team to me is probably the Utah Grizzlies, but even that's like really far. So
Today I learned there's 2 Canadian franchises in the ECHL, and I could not tell you what the second one is.
well, there's Newfoundland, right?
Oh yeah,
The,
that's
the Growlers,
right.
they've got pretty good. They've got a pretty good look. I like their look.
Yeah, that's right. I
And
forgot.
then didn't they win the championship the first year in the league too?
I feel like
Yeah.
incredible. ECHL is a weird thing, especially because it doesn't stand for anything.
Yeah, not anymore.
Acronym
Yeah.
wise, we're not saying the ECHL has no morals. We're saying it doesn't stand for anything.
The ECHL physically does not stand for anything because it is not a physical entity.
No.
The ECHL has no legs, physically.
The ECHL's had some pretty wild like team names and branding over its history. The Victoria Salmon Kings, Long Beach Ice Dogs, like come
Dude,
on.
the Long Beach Ice Dogs are legendary. I wish they were still around,
That's
honestly.
wild. That logo that they have up for it is wild.
I vote that we title this podcast "The ECHL Has No Legs."
And
We'll have a takedown
RIP.
notice within the hour.
All right, wait. The Long Beach Ice Dogs were IHL, I thought.
I put in ECHL teams, and apparently they played there at some point.
They did. I think they played in both, actually.
They
So
played until the end of the 06-07 ECHL season.
RIP. Never got to see them.
Rest and rip.
So many things we haven't seen.
Oof.
So many things we've yet to see. The mystery of the ECHL.
This is a little bit off topic before we move on, but since we were
How could this get more off topic?
Since we were mentioning different like ECHL teams and some of their wacky identities, there's one of my favorite ones that I found on sportslogos.net because I was just like one day just looking around randomly at the hockey logos of different leagues. And if you guys go onto sportslogos.net, it's under the Canadian Junior A Hockey, and it's the British Columbia Hockey League, the BCHL. Scroll down to the defunct teams, the Victoria Salsa. I'm personally a fan of the original one of theirs, but the updated one is also quite a doozy.
The Victoria Salsa, which existed from 1994 until 2006. They became the Victoria Grizzlies after that, which makes a little more sense. But yeah, these are some of the most incredible logos I've ever seen. So anybody, if you're driving, please don't. But if you're not driving, look up the Victoria Salsa. Their logos, incredible.
Their first logo literally looks like something that like my 10-year-old sister would have drawn.
I want a jersey with it so bad.
I'm picturing it as like one of those like full all over print sublimated jerseys with like that's what I'm picturing. It's got like those like the 90s neon, but it's got like all the triangles in different colors all over the shirt and then just the cactus right in the middle.
The Victoria Salsa, but what if it was a 90s NHL alternate?
Oof.
If anybody has any
gradients, bro.
If anybody has any insider info on the on tracking down a Victoria Salsa jersey, we'd love to talk to you about obtaining that.
I've seen a few on eBay, but they're either incredibly expensive or not my size. Like sometimes they'd be like, "Here's a whole package of Victoria Salsa stuff."
I just found one with their second logo. It's literally a reverse color of the Sens swoosh jersey.
I think I've seen
like
that
it's a white base jersey with red accent stripes on the swoosh, and then the swoosh is mainly black. This is the most wild thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's absolutely incredible.
From what I can see, the one with the original logo with the cactus, it's basically just that on like a Devils jersey. Like the striping's pretty much the same.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's wild. Man, minor league teams come up with the greatest things.
Incredibly. And also make sure you put in hockey when you Google Victoria Salsa, or else you'll get La Victoria, a brand of salsa.
Ooh.
Maybe that's why they're naming the team like that.
And it looks like the Vancouver Grizzlies did wear the original Devils-looking version for a fan appreciation night.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Whenever I first found this thing and was doing some research, I saw that.
Amazing.
I love how the pepper looks like it's supposed to be scary, but it's the exact opposite.
It's just angry Gumby. Huge shout out to the Victoria Salsa. We're a huge fan of your brand.
We'll stick a link to that page down in the description if you guys want to take a look at it.
You guys were OG.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's enough minor pro hockey or whatever you call it for one day. So those are our thoughts on the Kansas City Mavericks, as well as the ECHL itself, and on the Victoria Salsa. It's amazing the places you'll go when you just go off on tangents. Anyway, let's move on to our NHL Team Rundowns continuing series, looking at the best and worst uniforms of a whole bunch of different teams. Today we're going to the late 70s yet again. We covered the last two WHA teams, and now we're moving on to the next two. There were only four that moved from the WHA to the NHL, in case you didn't know that. Anyways, it's the beloved Hartford Whalers to start off. He started off 79, played until 97, when they moved to Raleigh, North Carolina to become the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Whalers had a pretty consistent look through their history. Their WHA days were a little different. They started off with green and white with a little yellow and added a tiny bit more yellow as time went on. Then when they came to the NHL, they redesigned to green, blue, and white, and wore some jerseys that are now very beloved through their history. Their only other major change was in '92 when they switched to a navy green, silver, and white color scheme. But anyway, let's just get into it. This is one of the defunct brands. Now, I think we talked about the Thrashers having a little staying power. This brand definitely has some staying power, despite not being around for so long. So let's just get everyone's opinion. What's your favorite uniform all time for the Hartford Whalers? And this will be interesting because they made a lot of minor tweaks throughout their history, but never changed a ton for a 15-ish year span.
I think I'm gonna have to give it to the 82-83 set because of the Cooperalls.
Cooperall.
Cooperalls.
No, but in all actuality, especially in their NHL history, aside from that last set, there's really not too many differences. I don't think the angled and straight sleeve striping is too big of a difference, but I'm gonna have to give it to the inaugural NHL set solely because of Pucky on the shoulder, and nothing else is that different. And specifically the green one, I think the white jersey is a little bit too inconsistent for my tastes. I mean, I guess it's not that bad, but I think I'd prefer it a little bit more consistent than it is. But what the green jersey is very consistent, very colorful. But I Puckies on the shoulders, and that's what makes me happy about it. And I really wish that whenever Carolina brought back the Whalers jerseys these last couple of years, I wish they had Pucky on the shoulders. I'm really sad that they don't.
R.I.P. Pucky.
R.I.P. Pucky.
Hunter.
I'm going to have to go with their green jersey from the 1991-92 season. I think that once they straighten the sleeve stripes out, they kind of clean that up. And I just like the way it's laid out. It sucks that Pucky's not on the shoulders, but I mean, I don't really think the shoulder patch is going to break this jersey for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about this jersey being brought back for a couple games recently by the Carolina Hurricanes, and we should mention that they did bring Pucky to the arena, even though they didn't have Pucky on the jerseys. So I'll give them a little credit for that, right?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
It's Pucky. What a name for a whale.
People were already mad that they were bringing back the Whalers jerseys. You think they weren't going to go all in and bring back Pucky? Sacrilege.
Yeah, we've already had that discussion on whether it was okay for them to do that or not. But anyway, as far as what I think is the best, I would say that their late '80s look, which is kind of the quintessential Whalers look. I think. Yeah, sure, Pucky is nice to have, but for some reason, I think the jersey just looks a little cleaner to me without Pucky on the shoulders. I'm really sorry to say that.
You take that back.
Never. But yeah, like when you're looking at images of Pucky on there, he's great up close. When you're looking from a distance, it just looks like a white blob on the green yolk. And so I do appreciate the look the Whalers had in the late '80s with the brighter green, and the green being the main color of the uniforms. And sure, they had different striping on the away and the home jersey. But I'm not sure how that home striping could have worked on the away jersey, and so I'd say that's definitely the best set that they had.
Okay, since you bring that up, I'm just going to clarify my point from earlier about the consistency. I don't necessarily mean the consistency between the home and away. I mean like the hem stripes and arm stripes on that white jersey. I think could use consistency. Just to clarify, I don't know what you were referring to or what anybody else thought I meant.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the angular stripes on the sleeves that were pretty. I mean, they're kind of iconic now. But they were straightened for the 1989-90 season and for the 1991-92 season, so they kind of skipped a year. So that's really weird. I don't know if any team has made a change one year, reverted, and then made a similar change the next year, and then completely redesigned the year after that.
That
I
is
don't know
funny.
what they were doing.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't notice that. That's weird.
Strange.
The Hartford Weirders.
At least they didn't bring the Cooperells back for like 1 year and then went back.
Yeah, those only lasted 1 year. Good
That's
for
a
them.
shame. They should have worn it. Once they brought it on in '82, they should have just kept it going.
Hmm. Okay, so in keeping the WHA history in mind, what do we say is our least favorite? What do we say is the worst uniform for the Hartford Whalers? Bpoe?
I was gonna go with their inaugural WHA uniforms because especially that white one is just a Red Wings copy, but I don't know how I couldn't possibly choose the navy blue ones that they ended their tenure with. Because I mean, they aren't bad jerseys in a vacuum. They're just such a departure from everything else they'd ever worn. And it's the navy blue is almost like black for black's sake in a way, just because, that was kind of the trend of the 90s. And it's not quite black, but depending on the lighting, it could look like black. That's one problem with navy blue sometimes. And that logo update is just unnecessary with some of the extra outlines and stuff that are added. Like if you're on sportslogos.net, for example, looking at the logos, I think the shape of that logo, I like that better than like the inaugural one. But the outlines and stuff like that are just completely unnecessary. That extra like gray and then another blue around that. It's just unnecessary. It's just very 90s. It's just very dated at this point. So that's my pick. Jeez, I really stumbled over that one, didn't I?
I'm gonna make an accusation here.
Check use.
You didn't choose the inaugural '72 New England Whalers uniforms because they have Pucky on them. You were going to until you saw Pucky, and then you realized I can't do that.
No, I can't do that to Pucky.
I've been caught red-handed. What can I say? It's totally not that those ones are just more colorful than the ones that I actually think are the worst. But nope, it's
No,
just because of Pucky. You caught me red-handed.
glad to hear it, Hunter.
I'm gonna go with their inaugural WHA jerseys. Pucky or not, the striping, like if you want to talk inconsistent striping, you're looking at these. Like they're all over the map, and Pucky doesn't save them. And I don't like the Roundel logo as much as like I like I like the W better when they brought it out of the Roundel, and then obviously the WH logo that they had when they moved to the NHL was iconic. So I think the logo only got better as they moved on until they changed and added gray. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, with me, I'm gonna give the inaugural set as the runner up. Because just based on the time it existed and the fact that it was the WHA, I'll cut them a little slack. Because they definitely made them better going with the different W there for most of their WHA tenure, I guess. So I will agree with Bpoe and say that what they ended their time in the NHL with in the '90s was probably their worst, just because it was so unnecessary. Making navy blue the primary color just kind of took a lot of the life out of their bright green look. I mean, it wasn't that bright of a green, but it's still like bright enough to where you think, yeah, that's nice to look at. So when you take away most of that green and you add all this gray in, I don't know if they were trying to be the Sharks or anything like that. It was definitely just unnecessary. And I think we can all agree that the logo they used from the late 70s to the early 90s, I think it's the greatest logo in NHL history. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but that's my opinion on that. And so I don't think they needed to mess with it, and yet they did, just 'cause.
If it's not the best, it's certainly up there. And it's clearly that's a very lukewarm take from us right there. A lot of people that you ask will say that that's one of the best logos of all time.
If you disagree with that, please let us know, and we will come to your house and no, we can't I was gonna say come to your house and beat you up, but we can't do that because then we'd have to, like, quarantine again. That's just like
Quarantine or not, Chris, are you threatening our one listener?
I was gonna
we
say,
will come
I,
we will
not even.
come to your mom's house.
I was gonna say, I'm not even sure that quarantine is the issue with that statement.
We will come to your house and make you agree with us.
You will
We
love
will come to
Pucky.
your house and have a very reasoned adult discussion with you
Yeah.
and try to convince you that
The
this logo
Whaler,
is
the
the
Whalers
best.
logo is only second best logo in league history because Pucky is the number one logo in league history. Let's be real.
We'll go out to lunch with you, have a nice reasoned adult discussion.
A socially distanced lunch.
Make sure we're wearing our masks the entire time. Even while we're
Mhm.
eating, we just gotta shove the food straight through the mask.
If just drink soup, you know,
Through the mask.
through the mask.
And then you can taste the flavor for hours later.
Oh,
Yeah!
oh
Isn't that
God.
fun? Alright, let's get back on track here. Let's everybody give what would be an ideal uniform for the sadly dead Hartford Whalers? Well, extinct, we'll say. But they were the Whalers, they weren't the Whales. Just I feel like that name wouldn't fly these days just because it's like, that's kind of violent, you know? They have, like, such a nice logo. That's kind of a violent name, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't think it would fly in today. Well, actually, I feel like it probably would just because of the nostalgia that's attached to it. But if it was like a brand new franchise and they were coming out with it, I feel like there'd be some issues. But if they just brought them back because, like, with them already having pre-existed, then I don't think it'd be a big deal. Nostalgia, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if they brought it back, it would be fine, but if it was a brand new team and the Whalers never existed, then I don't think it would work, or if the Whalers just never moved to Carolina, and I think it would still be fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just imagining, like, like a new team that they call the Portland Poachers or something, like that
Oh,
probably
Jesus.
that probably wouldn't fly. But anyway, back to the uniforms. What would be your ideal uniform for these Hartford Whalers?
I think personally, I would take their last green set that they wore in 91-92. Take the striping. Actually, looking at the striping on that white jersey, it is consistent in a way. I would maybe put the hem striping directly on the arms, but I'm not certain on that. But either way, just basically, you could honestly just take that set and add Pucky to the shoulders, and I think you've got an ideal set.
I'm gonna go with the 91-92 set. I think it's perfect the way it is. I feel like that's the ideal set if they brought them back, that they should be wearing that without Pucky. Hot takes.
Boo.
Hot takes.
The the OG Jersey Nerds podcast crew is going to be upset with you guys for not liking Pucky.
I never said I didn't like Pucky. I just said Pucky doesn't need to be on the jersey. He can be in the stands. That's fine.
I think it's
Pucky should
like
be the primary logo.
The
You heard it
Hartford
here
Pucky.
first. The Hartford Puckies.
I think it's so interesting that with all the, different little inconsistencies and striping that they've had, that our discussion has centered on a blob of a shoulder patch.
I also just
And
love
I
the
mean no
version.
disrespect.
I also just love the version of Pucky that's just Pucky and then it says Earth afterwards.
Puck ears.
It's meant to say Whalers, but it is Pucky and it says ers.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's very 70s, like WHA, like kind of. It's they weren't a minor league, but they weren't quite, the most high budget of a league or anything. So I think it's very fitting of the time.
I mean, I don't know, blob or not, I think Pucky looks a lot better on the shoulders of the WHA jerseys than he does any of the jerseys that they wore him in the NHL. Like, once they changed their color scheme in the NHL, he just kind of became a blob. The WH jerseys, he's actually a little more defined.
That's fair.
He's distinguished, you know?
Anyway, I'm not gonna disagree that the 91-92 set is really really good, and it's amazing that they only had that exact set for for 1 year. But I do kind of like the angled arm striping that they had in the late '80s, mid to late '80s. And so I feel like that said, it'd be interesting to explore, different hem striping. I think the home hem striping has become so iconic, and like I said before, I don't feel like it would work well translated to the white jersey.
By
But
home,
it'd
do you
be
mean the green one or the white one?
excuse me, I did mean the green jersey.
Okay, just making sure.
Apologies, I'm
Because whenever you get back into these earlier days, the home and away thing gets a little bit
you
mixed up.
you're very correct. So excuse me, the striping on the away jersey I feel like has become really iconic, especially with the Hurricanes bringing it back a little bit here and there. Um, so I'm not opposed to exploring some way to get that on the white jersey. I'd just be interested to see, how the colors would work, because I don't think you can go with an all green block with blue stripes on them. I don't think that would work very well. But just something similar to how they've done it on the arms with the blue striped on the white and then the green on the rest of the arm. I think that would look really good, and I think this is a color scheme that should be sorely missed in the NHL, as well as a logo that I hope is sorely missed.
I mean, clearly it is if the Hurricanes brought it back when they have absolutely no relation to that logo aside from the fact that the team moved there.
That's some relation, I guess. I mean, they're related. It's just like you change your name and move cities.
Yeah, I mean, the name is completely different, the city is completely different, so it's not like there's that kind of relation, you know? So it must be sorely missed if they had a reason to bring it back anyways. And as I think we've talked about before, I'm surely not opposed to it.
Yeah, like I don't think professional hockey, as far as NHL level, is going to be returning to Hartford anytime soon. Um, but if hockey does return in some way, I don't see any reason not to reclaim that identity in some form. Because it's definitely pop. It's one of those throwback identities that's become really popular. I feel like, and remain relevant somehow. So good for them. Greatest NHL logo of all time, and that's the T.
No, Chris, it's an H and a W.
No, it's a W. The H is an illusion. Get used to it. Okay, let's move from the destructive practice of whaling to the destructive press. Gosh dang
Practice.
it. Let's move from the destructive process of whaling to the destructive process of oiling, I guess.
Oilering.
Oilering.
But that just sounds like oila and ring. Which is like, is that a type of ring? Oilering?
You're digging too deep.
Now,
It is now.
You gotta dig deep to get that oil.
It's very true.
Very true. In case you didn't know, we're talking about the frozen tundra of Edmonton and the Edmonton Oilers, who played 7 years in the WHA and then entered the NHL in '79, and they're still going today. They've won quite a lot of Stanley Cups in the '80s, and they've struggled a little bit since. But we're not talking about their record. We're talking about their jerseys. They've always had um, at least in their NHL time, they've always had, well, even WHA too. They've always had some combination of blue and orange and white. Somehow, some way, some combination of those colors. They've done a lot of different things with it, but they've had some combination of those. It was a pretty royal blue for most of their history from the WHA time until the late 90s when they switched to a navy and a darker orange, more coppery, but we'll get there for sure. Switching back in 2008 to the old color scheme, and they've gone to a navy again since 2017. So a lot to talk about, a lot to choose from. Let's get everybody's opinion. The best jersey that the Edmonton Oilers have ever worn, or your favorite set for the Edmonton Oilers. Let's go with Hunter.
First of all, though, looking at NHLuniforms.com, under the retired numbers list, is it a typo that they have number 3,542 retired for Rod Phillips?
It can't. There's no. It can't be.
I saw that and I was like, huh?
Okay, look, Rod Phillips appears to have been a radio broadcaster, and so the number 3,542 references the number of games that he called for the Oilers.
Huh.
And so, no, that is not a typo.
Very interesting to retire a number that's not legal to be used anyways, but I guess it's more of a
I don't think it's officially retired. It's just they hung it from the rafters. So in the eyes of the Oilers,
okay.
even though you can't wear it, even if you could, you never will.
Nobody will ever wear that jersey.
The day that the NHL allows 4 figures on the back of a jersey.
Wait, like, yeah.
That one specific number, you're just darn.
40 years from now, the league allows thousands numbers, and there's one kid that grows up wanting that exact number, and he gets to Edmonton, and he's like, damn it!
Out of all the numbers that could have possibly been retired.
You couldn't have been 3,543. It had to be 42.
Of course, there were 3,541 people before Rod Phillips.
Yes.
Which is why he has 3,542. And it's definitely not for the reason we literally just told you it was for. So
no.
It's like in the future of the NHL, instead of a jersey number on the back, it's just the last 4 numbers of your credit card.
Oh, Jesus.
Is this your social security number ending? Because that's 4 digits.
Somebody has their credit card at 3542. Damn it, I can't wear it on my jersey.
Gets traded because of that.
Yeah, if that number's not available, they must be traded.
Anyway, shout out to Bpoe for getting us so way off track, like unbelievably off track there.
Well, that's my job.
Unbelievable.
Yes, that's clearly why we brought you in here. We didn't even bring you in here. You were just already here.
You're always just recording a podcast.
You guys are the ones that we brought in. I'm the one with seniority here.
I'm the OG.
It's like squatters' rights or something. He just lives here and he just hasn't left. We can't get rid of him.
If you ever need to find Bpoe, just look in Zencaster. That's where he's hiding all the time.
Meanwhile, in all reality, you guys are the podcast hosts, and I'm just here because quarantine hit at the right time.
Yeah.
So I wasn't busy enough that I'm able to actually be on every episode.
We're very happy to have you. Now, please tell us your favorite uniform of all time for the Edmonton Oilers, or else.
Or else.
Well, since you were gonna go to Hunter, but I had to bring up the odd retired number, I'll throw it back to him first to be polite.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to go with their 1981 to 94 set. Those are the OG Oilers jerseys, in my opinion. Those are Gretzky's heyday with that royal blue and a proper number font, because in 80-81 they had a really stretched out number font that I thought was weird.
I'm going to pick for their ideal uniform a set, but I'm going to do a mix and match. I'm going to go with their current road jersey because the way that shade of orange pops on the white jersey is just incredible. It's one of my favorites in the league, and I don't dislike the orange home jersey at all. I know a lot of people do, but I don't dislike it at all. But it's hard to argue that the blue version that they wore, it's their a quintessential Oilers jersey that the same variation basically from the 70s to the late 90s, and the version that they brought back under Reebok for years and years, and the version that they also have worn under Adidas on a couple occasions. That just quintessential blue jersey. It's hard to argue against that one being better than the orange one, even though I don't mind the orange one. So that's my mix and match of ideal or of best Oilers jersey.
You made it way too difficult, Bpoe. I completely agree with Hunter. The 81 to 94 set, not just because, sometimes you think a jersey's better than it is just because there's a lot of success attached to it. And I'm not denying that the current away jersey definitely looks really clean. I will hardly ever stand for the use of navy over the use of royal blue. And it's just something, royal blue and orange, complementary colors, of course, if you want to get into art theory or whatever. But that's just the quintessential Oilers uniform. I'd say the white one looks a little better than the blue one. It's just something about the way that the blue and orange pop on the white. Yeah, the 81 to 94 set, definitely the best.
I would argue that the navy blue works a lot better on the current Oilers uniforms because orange is the primary, and it's not primarily navy blue. If the jersey was primarily blue and not primarily orange, I'd 100% go royal. But I
So
think
you
it
mean
works.
like
I
their
think it works.
alternate?
Yeah, let's not talk. Let's not talk about the alternate yet. I think we'll be getting there. We might be getting there. If just as a spoiler, I guess, if it's not the worst, it's probably the runner up. But just having it, especially on that home jersey, having the blue as a secondary color than a primary color, I think the navy works a lot better than if it were the if it were the primary color of the jersey, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and on that note, Hunter, let's hear your least favorite, the worst uniform the Edmonton Oilers have worn.
Okay, so before I hit my least favorite jersey, which I think most people are going to know what it is anyways,
Uh-oh.
I do have an honorable mention. Can I just talk about how bad the logos were when they were in the WHA from like 74 till they came to the NHL in the 80s? Like
You may.
why would you put orange in the logo? Like literally their first year in the WHA, the jerseys were perfectly fine. Like you could argue that having the orange yoke on the shoulders and stuff is a little weird, but like, it didn't look terrible. But then they're like, hey, you know what really work? Let's just make the outline of the logos inverted so that it's mostly orange. And then on the white jersey, it's just straight up orange with a white drop. Like, what the hell is that? Terrible.
You've never heard of white oil?
Oh yeah, we all know about that white oil. In terms of my least favorite jerseys that they've ever worn, easily their Reebok Edge set with the copper and the navy blue. It's oddly striped. It's not a good color palette, and just overall, you could talk about how there's not a lot of positive feelings attached to that jersey because they were pretty bad during that time. But yeah, I don't like the way that jersey's laid out at all.
I want to go back to white oil real quick because
Yeah.
what if what if during their WHA times, what if it wasn't like crude oil like we think of? What if it was like coconut oil? What if that's the look they were going for?
God, stop.
The Edmonton Coconut Oilers.
Because we all know how many coconuts there are in Edmonton.
All kinds.
So many kinds.
You ever been to Whole Foods?
Not in Edmonton. Wait, remind me where the where were those Winter Olympics in the film Cool Runnings? Was that Edmonton or was it Calgary?
I think it was Calgary.
Yeah, I feel like it was Calgary. It'd be funny if it was Edmonton because there's the crossover between a tropical country and Edmonton. But no, we almost had it, but we didn't. Bpoe, Worst uniform, Edmonton Oilers, go.
It's like I mentioned, that current alternate is not great, but I can't pick it as their worst over that inaugural Edge set, and specifically the navy blue one. Because there's just a little more going on in that alternate than there is with the navy blue Edge set, and that copper just, it's not bad in a vacuum, but it just doesn't pop nearly the same way the orange does. The underarm striping makes it look nearly invisible when they're being worn on the ice. There's just, it's just a bastardization of their pre-edge uniforms that were navy blue, basically.
I gotta ask, Bpoe, what's with you and vacuums? It's like the third time you've mentioned it today.
I don't know, man. It's just a phrase.
Sucks to suck.
Yikes.
I just think that sometimes
That's a big oof.
whenever you look at them, not under the scope of them being worn in a certain team's history, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand it. I just wanted to point it out.
I know. Is that my version of Chris's anywho?
Yeah.
So I am going to use this opportunity to say that 2007 Reebok Edge set, it does exist in a vacuum because it sucks.
Nice.
It sucks. Thank you. It's so...
I appreciate that one. That was a good one.
First off, shout out to the 1996 changes, which brought us from a nice color scheme of a royal blue and orange and white to a midnight blue, which looks darker than a navy blue, with red accents and bronze. Like, what are you doing with your colors? Like, I don't understand why that decision would have been made. First off, red and bronze together? What are you trying to make it look like orange from a distance? Because that's not how
Because it
that
was the
works.
90s. I think you can explain it just by saying it was the 90s. That's an accurate sound.
Like I'm not a huge fan of their 2000s alternate jersey, but I respect it for being something different and for not looking absolutely terrible. And even the current alternate, I respect it for doing something different, and I don't think it's great, but it definitely doesn't look terrible. I mean,
The only
sure.
reason the current alternate works for me is because they kept it simple and didn't add any like unnecessary outlines. Like, could you imagine that logo if it wasn't just orange on the navy, like, and they added white somewhere? Then it would look really bad.
I feel like if they thicken those arm stripes too, it would look a little bit better. But I remember whenever this thing was first unveiled, I was proposing orange pants, and I still think that would be. I still think that would look nice.
So we're gonna take the orange pants the orange Cooperalls from San Jose. We're gonna bring them to Edmonton.
Yes.
Cooperalls.
100%. But back to complaining about the Reebok Edge set. I mean, first up, respect to the Oilers for only having that as their set for the 1 year it was required. I mean, yes, they kept the set around, but they also, brought back their original 80s design as like a primary home jersey. I mean, shame on them for keeping the Edge set around until 2013. But this jersey is just incredibly bad. First off, you have, once again, the underarm striping. The striping not continuing all the way around the sleeve. So it's like, I don't understand why anyone would do that. It's amazing. You have a giant copper bronze stripe with a little bit of red and a little bit of blue. I mean, it doesn't look good on the home jersey. It's like dark blue and bronze. Like those don't work. I'm sorry, those do not work. And then when you move it to the away jersey, you get like a primarily bronze accent, which is just baffling. And then just real quick, let's just mention the piping going from the collar down the front of the jersey, the apron template or whatever. Just these were bad. We agree these were bad. I'm gonna go a step further. While their current set is definitely an improvement on that, because what isn't an improvement on that? I am not a fan of using orange with navy in that context, in the context of their home uniform. But that's just me. Anyway, least favorite, worst, definitely '07 Reebok Edge set.
The one thing I noticed about that Reebok Edge set too, and like just relating it back to the Mavericks jerseys that we were talking about, the thing I can appreciate them about the Mavericks using that underarm striping is that they have the piping to kind of break the striping up, whereas the Oilers didn't have anything down the sleeve to break that striping. It just suddenly stopped on the sleeve.
Right.
Like, I can appreciate that the Mavericks actually have the piping going down the sleeve to actually like break up that section, whereas the Oilers just didn't have that, and it just makes it somehow worse for me.
Right, on that note, there's a lot of directions we could go here. We're going to each give our personal ideal uniforms for the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about this because they've had so many different tweaks and inconsistencies in colors throughout their history. Despite having a consistent logo throughout, that's the amazing thing. Like, good for them keeping that despite changing almost everything else. Um, what do you guys think? What would be the perfect thing for the Oilers to wear?
Mine would be the 2015 to 2017 set that they had. I like the way it's laid out. They have that classic royal blue home jersey. They have the classic white jersey, and then I always like that orange WHA alternate that they brought back. So like I feel like that's a good set for them to use.
This is such a tough one for me because, like I did with the best uniforms they've wore, I played mix and match with one navy blue one and one royal blue one. Um,
Fence sitter?
so it's just, I think maybe you could take the current road, which is personally my favorite white jersey that they've ever worn, and I feel like you could probably make that navy into royal and not lose the pop of the orange. And then that way you can either go with a royal blue home, like what they, wore through Reebok Edge for a while and whatnot, most of their history, or even just lighten that blue on the orange jersey. Because I don't mind them being orange just because it stands out for most of the league. I mean, there's only like two other teams that have orange jerseys at all, and only one of those is the primary. So it's unique in the league for sure. As opposed to royal blue, which is not quite as unique. But it's a really tough one. The only other thing I could maybe think of is take a WHA route, how they had like the inaugural WHA uniforms that were the inspiration for that Reebok Edge alternate that Hunter mentioned in his ideal set. It's such a tough one for me. I don't. There's so many different variants that you could go with, like you said.
Definitely, yeah.
We
You
need to
know,
get the live studio audience back in here to get Bpoe to stop sitting on the fence because he never really gave a definitive answer.
well, we'll spare him for now. But yeah, I
For
mean,
now.
like we've said, like I like their current away jersey. I like the way the template works for their current set. It's just something about the color balance on the home jersey that I really just do not like at all. Um, and so based on that, I would probably have to agree with Hunter and think that what they wore at the end of their Reebok days, bringing back the royal blue and orange look, would probably be their best because it's not too different from the no the away jersey's not too different from what they're wearing with Adidas. And so I just think I'm a huge like I said I'm a huge fan of royal over navy, and I see no reason for royal not to be used here. I'm not entirely sure if royal would work on an orange jersey. Like I'm not against an orange jersey, but perhaps you'd have to adjust the arm striping so it looks more like an inverted version of what they wore throughout the '80s. Perhaps that would help the color balance a bit. Um, but really, as clean as the navy can look, I say go back to royal. I'm having flashbacks to the LA Rams, where for years we were like, go back to royal, go back to royal. And they're like, fine, here. And we're like, that's not what we wanted.
Fine, here's bone and white.
Not even a white, just like your colors are blue. If you're the LA Rams, your colors are royal blue, soul yellow, what to white gradient. That's a color, and bone.
Yikes.
We always come back to them, don't we?
I can hear the heartbreak in your voice every time we talk about it.
Yeah, we still haven't seen anything on the field yet for them.
I did
Uh,
see
You know
it.
what
They
they
did
should have
show it
worn?
briefly. They showed it briefly in the Madden 21 trailer when they dropped that the other day, and they look just as bad in the video game as they did on the template. So,
You know what the Rams should have worn? There's a concept that I saw going around the internet by a guy, Chris Ramirez. I
so
think.
as far as the Edmonton Oilers go, um, and Hunter and I definitely agree that Royal is better than Navy, and I like having if you're gonna have a blue jersey, we like the orange yoke. The question for me is, do you keep the orange on the end of the sleeves, or do you get rid of it like they got rid of the blue on the end of the sleeves for their current set? I'm not sure.
I really like the way the orange on the sleeves look on the royal blue set. I would keep it on that one. On an orange one, I'm not so sure if you'd keep the colored sleeves.
Yeah, because I'm trying to imagine their current Adidas orange jersey with like some navy on the end of the sleeves, or switch to royal and having royal on the end of the sleeves. And I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I feel like it would help that color balancing issue that you were mentioning.
It might, but for some reason, just something about the thin white outline on the navy numbers, something about that really bugs me. And the fact that the nameplate is white with a navy outline, uh, while the name on the back is white with a navy outline, while the numbers are navy with a white outline. It's like, make up your mind. Like, if you're like, sure, white on color looks best, and that's what they had in the '80s. But it's different when you put an outline on it. I feel like, and I feel like like if you're going with a straight white name on back and colored numbers, sure, no one's gonna complain about that. Um, but it could be just the fact that there's a navy outline on there that just really bugs me and throws it off for me. But I'm not sure. And it's interesting they made the decision to go with just the single outline on the Adidas set, because before they had kind of the double outline look for most of their history. Does no one have anything to say on name on back colors and number outlines? Really?
I feel like it's weird that they switched it because in their 15 to 17 set they had the royal blue numbers with the white outlines on the white or on the orange jersey, except for on the shoulders, obviously. And then they did change that when they changed over to Adidas and they got rid of the shoulder numbers, obviously. But I don't
Well,
know,
I can
it's weird.
I can see why they do that, because if when I'm looking at pictures of their orange Reebok Edge alternate, like if you're on the ice, if you're watching this team on the ice, those names are literally impossible to read.
No, for sure. Like I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's weird that they had that consistency and then they decided the only thing they wanted to change was just the name. Like just, why wouldn't you change the numbers along with it at that point?
I don't know how good white numbers on that orange jersey would look.
Yeah, there's no precedent for that for them, because even in their WHA days, they wore orange jerseys with blue numbers. But I think that the distinguishing thing was the fact that the white outline on the number was thick enough to make a difference. Because I feel like now, including that Reebok Edge orange alternate and their current set, I feel like it's just such a thin white outline that it really doesn't do a ton to separate the number from the jersey. Like even on the away jersey, that's such a thin orange outline. It's almost not even there from a distance.
You know what I just realized is kind of odd? By the end of their careers, assuming that the Oilers stick with these current uniforms for a while, seeing Draisaitl and McDavid in especially the white Reebok uniform, that road one, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna look like not the uniform that you're used to seeing them in.
I mean, same with all the Oilers players that played for that horrible decade from, well, decade plus from '96 until 2012, really. I mean, they had a cup run at that point. They made a Stanley Cup final wearing the first set of midnight blue and copper or bronze uniforms. Like, well, not the very first set, but you know what I mean.
At least it wasn't the Edge ones, I guess.
At least it wasn't the Edge ones. The new slogan of the, of the podcast. I don't know if we talked about this before. It'd be fun to have to go through every single 2007, 08 uniform and think, were any improvements? Because I don't think they were, but were there any that improved?
Boston did for sure.
No,
Other
that's a
than
good
that, I'm
point.
not as sure.
No, off the top of your head, that's a good one.
Vancouver, just looking through real quick. Boston and Vancouver definitely did.
Alrighty then.
Any other possible improvements may have just been minor updates to Rangers, Canadians, and whatnot, where you might like the Edge template better than the CCM template. That's about it.
Yeah, or just straight up flukes. Just
Yeah.
whoops, we made this a little better. We didn't mean to. We meant to make it worse.
My bad.
Yeah, so it's fun getting into these older teams because there's a lot more history to talk about and a lot more debate over little changes, little inconsistencies.
It is interesting how a lot of these WHA teams have had basically the same jerseys with minor variations. Even the Oilers, aside from that navy blue period, it's
Phase.
the same thing. Yeah. I mean, even the navy blue jerseys are the same striping pattern for the most part, aside from the Reebok Edge ones.
Consistent inconsistency is what they have had. And it'll be fun getting into the next teams. Based on chronological order, the next teams that we'll be talking about would be the Washington Capitals and Atlanta Flames, perhaps the New York Islanders as well, as they were around that time as well. But some fun histories to get into there. I don't know about you guys. I'm enjoying this series. I'm enjoying talking about all these histories, and you learn some things that you might not have been aware of as well.
It gives us something to talk about, that's for sure. With
Well,
not too much news
there's nothing to
right now.
Are you saying there's nothing to talk about right now? Are you saying there's no hockey happening? There's no sports happening? What? How could you say that?
Oh man, didn't you guys see the game last night?
Yeah,
It was great.
the game.
Team won against team by a score of 3-2 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And player McPlayer face.
Seattle blanks.
Yeah.
Player McPlayer face scored the game-winning goal.
Jeez. Did you guys see that the NBA players are gonna have to wear rings while they're playing in Disney?
Yeah, there's these smart rings that can predict symptoms or something. That's really weird. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, they're making them wear smart rings that are apparently can predict symptoms of COVID 3 days or 3 weeks in advance or something like that.
That's interesting.
Finally, Chris Paul gets a ring.
That has literally been the running joke since they announced it with insert player's name here. Well, finally, James Harden's got a ring.
For a second, I envisioned they had to wear these on the court these rings hula hoops around them, so that way they didn't get too close to other players.
They all have to wear the Halo headgear, screwed under their heads.
You can't box out anybody. You just have to
physical distancing so nobody's head touches somebody else's.
Any physical contact is a technical foul.
Yeah, you're out of here.
You take a charge, you get put in a bubble.
Imagine them all playing basketball in those hamster bubble things.
Wait, how do you shoot? You get your hands are allowed to be outside the bubble, but that's it.
Imagine that they were also the ball, so they just had to launch themselves into a giant hoop.
Oh my god.
Be the ball.
You gotta be the ball.
How would hockey work? Can you do bubble hockey? You just have the skates and the stick poking out?
It wouldn't work very well.
You just have You just play
Hits would be
table
massive.
hockey. You just play like table bubble hockey, and like one player controls each of the sticks.
Well, this is a fun conversation for different sports. Football. Nobody could tackle anybody. Nobody would go down. They just bounce
run
off
into each other, and they have to see how far they bounce off, kind of thing.
Lots of fumbles.
Lots of fumbles. Or no
man.
fumbles at all, because all I have to do is just hold the ball inside their little bubble, and it'll never fall out.
No, you got to keep the ball outside the bubble.
Yeah, that'd be unfair, I guess.
Oh, how do you lateral? You know, because I'm assuming it would just be laterals. Like there's no handoffs. You can't just. There's no way you could throw a forward pass with your arms in a bubble.
Not with that attitude.
I mean, this wouldn't be necessary, but bubble baseball.
Oh my god. It just becomes soccer baseball. You have to kick a guy in a bubble.
You get your bat is allowed to stick outside of the bubble, but then you just have to like rotate your entire body to swing.
Spinning on one spot.
There's like
how about
arm holes in the bubble for you to stick your arms out the bat? Other than that, like whenever the ball is like in the air, you just have to use the bubble to bounce it off to the next person.
No, I've got it. The pitcher gets a larger bubble with a hole in it, and they have to throw the ball through that hole to pitch, and that's how they get the ball to the plate. So what happens if you make contact? Like, oh gosh, that's gonna be chaos if you actually get a hit.
So apparently, these bubbles they basically cover your whole upper body, right? But your legs can stay free. So apparently, I just found there's a bubble soccer league in Ottawa, and I'm gonna sign up.
What?
Well, yeah, bubble soccer is a thing because that's all you need is your feet, so that works.
I'm all over this.
We're just imagining it in different. Like, what about like lacrosse, bubble lacrosse?
Oh god.
You can still run around. It's just hard to pass and hard to shoot. It'd be so easy to be a goalie though, because you're just like you got a bubble surrounding you. Like nothing's getting past you.
So from what I've seen, it looks like a couple NHL teams have done bubble hockey with those bubbles during like intermissions, and basically all they do is they have like a giant puck, and you have to kick it around the ice, and they just run into each other.
Is there a goalie or what?
No, it's just tiny nets.
So NHL goalies are just out of commission.
Yeah, could you imagine trying to play goalie with that thing on though?
I don't know if it would be easier or harder.
No, it'd be easier. You just kind of sit down, and then the bubble does the work for you.
You just lay down the bubble.
Just get like a Zdeno Chara snap or slap shot, and you just hear, and it just pops.
Yeah.
I've always imagined, like, what if you just had like a 6'7", 300-pound goalie? Like, would anything get past? I feel like there's been a video on this or something. What if you just like put a sumo person in net? Like, would anything? Oh no, it was that stupid Geico commercial where they put like a walrus in front of the net.
I feel like there's been a video on it, and it was just a Geico commercial.
Do you guys remember the old McDonald's commercials with like the tiny goalie? Did you guys ever see those?
No.
Oh,
Wait, maybe? No, I don't know.
I'm gonna see if I can find the video and I'll send it to you guys so you can see it. There used to be like these like McDonald's commercials. I don't know if they were only in Canada or not, but like back, I don't know, early 2000s, and it was literally like a tiny goalie. He was like 2 inches tall. I can't remember what they called him. He had a name and everything, but it's so funny. No, it was like Jacques something. I can't remember.
We'll make sure to link that in the description if we find it. But again, don't go to McDonald's. Go to Clonburger.
Go to Clonburger. It sucks that the ECHL has no legs. They can't play bubble hockey.
And I think that is a wonderful statement to wrap that up on.
Anywho.
Covering a lot today. The ECHL's Kansas City Mavericks, the ECHL's legs, and the histories of the Whalers and Oilers. So I hope hope everybody
and bubble sports, yeah.
Indeed, I hope our one listener of Hunter's Mom enjoyed the show today, and make sure to let us know what you want to hear from us. make sure to send concepts into our concept corner by emailing jerseynerdsmedia@gmail.com. Make sure to visit our Redbubble site. We got a bunch of stickers and stuff up there. Going to have some more releasing this week, probably by the time you're listening to this. Ooh. And so, yeah, lots of fun stuff happening with us. Let us know what's going on with you, I guess. We care. We care about your health here at the Jersey Nerds. And, yeah, this has been a good one today. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, Hunter and Bpoe, for being on and for...
You're welcome, Chris.
For
Chris.
giving actual... Thanks to Hunter for giving actual opinions. Thanks to Bpoe for giving lukewarm takes.
Thanks to Bpoe for being just, recording a podcast.
Thanks to Bpoe for recording a podcast, indeed. All right, that does it for this one. We'll see you guys next time.
Later, guys.
I like how I say we'll see you guys next time. We never see anyone. We don't see each other. Thank you for listening to the Jersey Nerds podcast. Check out our website at jerseynerds.wordpress.com to find the latest news, concepts, podcasts, and more. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at _Jersey Nerds. You can find Chris on Twitter at CRamirez, CALIF, and on Instagram at Chris Ramirez Creative. You can find Hunter on Twitter at OpenSZN39 and on Instagram at HJ.Design661. You can find Bpoe on Twitter and Instagram at BBCDesign, or just find all the links down in the description of the episode.